I wasn't seeking at all recovery, but because of my eating disorder, it had become life or death. And with an eating disorder, it's disguised well. My lowest weight I got to was 75 pounds. I was a regional vice president of a mortgage company, making a six-digit income, at 24 years old. So it went under the radar because it still looked, but when it doesn't, we don't have to hit our bottom of what was possible. Like I could have lost everything, but what I was losing was my life. Um, that's really what got me into recovery because it was live or die, really functioning, but the body was giving out and all of that.
Welcome to the Sober and Wellness Podcast. If you're a businesswoman seeking to elevate your life and unlock your full potential, you are in the right place. I am your host, Abigail Padro, and I am passionate about helping you achieve your next level. We will dive into honest conversation about sobriety, how faith can be a powerful anchor. My goal is to empower you to become the best version of yourself and excel in business, relationship, and beyond. Let's embark in this journey together, and I will provide you the tools and inspiration you need to live an alcohol-free life. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Sober and Wellness Podcast. My name is Abigail Padro, and I am your host. In today's episode, I have a special guest, Lynnae Velasquez, and she's going to be sharing with us her story. And I am super excited because she's been in recovery for 35 years. You heard that right, 35 years. So I am very sure she has a lot of knowledge and a lot of nuggets that she can share with us. So Lynnae, welcome. How are you?
I'm excited to be here. Anytime I can share anything about recovery, experience strength and hope, I am happy. Makes my day.
Oh, thank you. And thank you so much for being part of the podcast, sharing our story. I truly believe it's what helped other people that are in this journey and they don't feel alone. So let's just start in. So tell us about how everything started. How's your story? Because there's 35 years, you have a lot of things
There's a
packed there. So
Let's see. So I won't go too much into well, I did get clean and sober young. So I am an example I clean sober at 24, not because I wanted to, but drinking is a mental illness for many of us. So I also am recovering from an eating disorder. I picked up my first drink at about 11. And then my eating disorder came right after that as a dancer. And I have been a professional. And I just kind of came into the world with all of that. Like, went to work right away, had my own businesses right away in my 20s. So I wasn't seeking at all recovery, but because of my eating disorder, it had become life or death. And with an eating disorder, it's disguised well. My lowest weight I got to was 75 pounds. I was a regional vice president of a mortgage company, making a six-digit income at 24 years old. So it went under the radar because it still looked, but when it doesn't, we don't have to hit our bottom of what was possible. Like I could have lost everything, but what I was losing was my life. That's really what got me into recovery because it was live or die, really functioning, but the body was giving out and all of that. And the therapist that my parents did an intervention with me would not work with me unless I stopped drinking. And she was way ahead of her time. I mean, my recovery 35 years ago to what you guys have today is just
day and night.
it's day and night. And what you guys have available, even in the last 10 years and 5 years, and I've been watching and following the Sober Curiosity movement, is really very fortunate that you guys have that. But also Old Recovery works because my group of women that I associate with, we all have 15, 20, 30, 40 years of recovery. So, we're here to say that it works if you work it. But that's what got me. I didn't want to die. I mean, there was a part of me, and that's where the mental illness comes in. Only unless you have depression and that level of it can you really understand that that when the pit starts to happen, you can't get out of it. So I didn't want to check out completely, but that's where my therapist, Barbara, who's not here anymore with us, was like, if you want any help, you've got to be willing to not smoke pot, drink, and all the other things that I was doing. So I did recovery with an eating disorder and alcohol. And I was an alcoholic from the moment I picked up. Blackout in high school. We drank on the field, then I had a joint, and it was a blackout. I mean, things are so different. So there was still a lot of yets for me, drinking wise, but because the eating disorder popped up faster, and it was hard. Eating disorder itself is what we know today compared to what we knew back then, all of it. But my therapist was amazing. And I worked with her for on and off for 10 years because food is something you don't just have abstinence with. I
Right.
wasn't really going to talk about my food, but that has to be, that's something that we still have to do every single day. So drinking and pot and all of that, I just white knuckled it for a very long time. But I went to 12 steps from the beginning because I did, because my therapist, she said, I won't work with you unless you stop drinking. And I couldn't stop drinking, even though it all looked good on the outside. That's kind of the illusion of driving my Corvette, and we were smoking clove cigarettes, and
Hmm.
while I was out in the industry, making deals and making a lot of money, spiritually, physically bankrupt. And
Wow.
so, yeah, so I went into 12 steps from the very beginning, and that saved my life. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. That's powerful.
That's a lot, right? Where do you
Yeah.
want to go? Where do you
No,
want to go from
we can
there?
go many places. I love it. I love it because, it gets perspective, right? You have so something that is interesting is I'm a realtor. I'm a real estate agent. So I am in the real estate industry, and I mentioned that because it's also like lawyers. In that industry, alcohol is idolized. Because for any event, how do you attract realtors? Believe it or not, is offering boost more than food. That is the one thing that open broker house, anything, title companies come and have a drink or let's do this. And the alcohol is always involved. The networking events. I really
Oh,
truly believe that networking events, they're not networking events. They're just parties and people are drinking. You're not going to remember people's name by the end of the night.
right,
You're
right.
gonna have cards on your hands and like, oh, this is what he does. So I imagine that quitting at that age, at 24, dealing with that, plus being in that industry, had
Yeah.
to be very
I did
tough.
real estate. I was able to hang in there in mortgage banking for, I forget how many years after. I did mortgage banking for about 11 years. But it did get to the point, again, I date myself, but that's when interest rates were 16%. And
Mm,
it was a market within itself. I mean, we didn't have computers. I know that sounds so weird, but we didn't have any of that. And it was a dog eat dog, male dominated business.
mm,
I was the only female. And so I did eventually in my recovery journey was like, I had to be willing to also give that part up. And it's funny that you're hitting on that because oh, I know. Okay. When I was 3.5 years sober, I ended up on what's called a 5150. I don't even know if they call it that, but I ended up in a psych ward. I hit a depression that was undescribable, and I had just left my career.
mm.
And and I had just canceled a wedding. So this is the thing where real recovery happens is when life happens.
Yes.
And it's like right there because I knew I couldn't do corporate anymore. Like it was killing me. It was literally killing me. And so when I left that was my identity. That was it. And so I hit like a bigger bottom at 3.5 years. And I only stayed there for like 24, 48 hours. And then I went and lived with my parents. And they took away, I was an adult, my keys. I had recovery. And I haven't thought about this story in a long time. But I had to build another new life, literally everything. And then I went to school and I became a holistic health practitioner. I That's part of, all of our stories are part of our stories. And it's taken 35 years to get to where the program I run today is called the Aligned Woman's Path. It's
Hmm.
all of these pieces of 35 years of accumulation of what an aligned
Hmm.
woman looks like, which we didn't even know back then. We didn't have
Yes.
consciousness. I'm an empath. I'm intuitive. I read energy. It's something I was born with, but we didn't talk about that then.
Hmm.
And I was a Reiki master 25 years ago, which now you can become a Reiki master online. I had to do that underground. So when I became a holistic health practitioner, and that took 2 years to study that. That opened up a new healing path because now I was working with women with eating disorders. I was working at recovery homes. I was working with people who were transitioning and dying. And then I was working with the regular woman who, whatever that is, with all of her stuff. So that's where that, more experience, strength, and hope came in. So I ran that business for about 12 years. Yeah.
Wow. So you were
Yeah.
the pioneer for a lot of things
You
that
know,
we are
it's
so used to now, but not back then.
Yeah, thank you for acknowledging that because I do happen to work with a lot of women 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. I mean,
Hmm.
really. The 50, 60, 70 is the new age for us. 70 years old, I was just in a class with like 200 of us in a year-long program. The average woman creating something in her life was 60 years old. So
Wow.
it's weird to say I'll be 60 this year. I hate to say that, but I will be 60. That we really, like the women ahead of us did that. We really did. I really did. I've always spoke of recovery. I've never been ashamed of being an alcoholic,
Hmm.
ever. I've never been judged. And if I was, I don't care. And it gave me something to explain what was wrong.
Hmm.
Um, and and then I have a lot of, I have dyslexia, the ADD. Again, we didn't know what that was all called. Now you guys all have labels for
Hmm.
things. And I know that some people don't like labels. I totally get that. But when you think you're screwed up and then you get a little bit of identification, it's like, I'm not, you know, I have a funny class I used to take. You're not as effed up as you think you are. That I used to teach in class because we're not.
Right.
Today, you guys have a little bit more of that. Most of us that I work with, and for myself, we're empaths. We're sensitive. Everything we feel comes into our bodies. But we didn't even identify that word until the last 5+ years ago. I mean, I did not walk around and say, "Hey, I'm intuitive. I read energy." I did when I was doing my work with
Hmm.
clients. But today we have a platform that, again, online, you're talking about all this. So I'm excited for the younger sobriety, you know?
Yeah. I like having this conversation with you because it brings back foundation, right? Everything in life needs foundation. The structure of a home without a foundation will fall.
It really does. And I know, and my foundation is 12 steps. Um, And for so many reasons. I mean, I just went to a new meeting last week because I just lost my home group after 18 years. I mean, these women know me more than my family. So I'm having to reset. And I don't know if you can get that online. I don't know if sobriety over the internet is this. Well, I know it's not. As an energetic coach, that's what I do, is that when we touch a human, when we're in the room with an energy, the vibration changes. Literally, I teach the themes of consciousness, and the energy in any type of recovery room, I don't care what it is, comes up to about 500. And when we're in shame, guilt, fear, and stuff, we're in the 20s and 40s. So that's why you were saying at the beginning to have conversation of like, you're not alone. You're not
Hmm.
alone. There's still, I think, the steps of the foundation. Like when life happens and crap hits, divorces, bankruptcy, abuse,
Hmm.
like all of that, all of that. Where's the core that no matter what? And then that's also where the spiritual part comes in. you know?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have touched on a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
One being the females, right? I think that's a matter that sometimes we think it's so long ago, but it's not, between when male and female and in the entrepreneurship jobs, there's always that battle. That battle still exists. It's just not as pronounced. But I imagine, like you're saying, working in the mortgage industry back there, you have to be a force to reckon with because it was not easy as a female, as a woman, to get into industries like that. I'm in a different generation. I have never felt that because I have a strong energy as it is. And I think it's because of my father. He was a veteran. He raised me very, tough love.
Huh?
So I don't have that kind of thing where I get intimidated by no man, no power. It's just, I don't have that. But I know there's many that have that because it's been something that we've been dealing with for a long time. So that's something very important to touch on.
There's a lot to tie into that. I call myself a transformational energy therapist coach because it's just everything comes into that. It's your identity, the identity shift, it's the energetic mastery. All the things that I wished I would have known is what my message is. It's all the pieces. Like the foundation was there, but even in the beginning of my recovery, I never relied on the 12 steps as my only thing because the 12 steps has you do your work. It makes you doesn't make you do anything. If you choose to stay in that program, you have to be willing to work your own stuff.
Yes.
You have to. That's part of the steps. That's part of the steps because the stuff is our stuff. It does happen around us, but it's who are we going to be? And then the trauma and the drama and all that. So, sorry, I went off on a little tangent, but I always went to outside help because with mental and depression and all of that, I couldn't get even back then we didn't talk about mental illness. We didn't have that. So, so like you said, seeking outside, it says that in our book, big book. I'm very grateful for the new book that they have. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's called The Plain Language Big Book.
Let me see. let me get something here because I'm going to
Yeah.
get to that now that you're talking.
Sorry, I popped all over the place because I get excited because there's so many
No,
fun
I'm
things.
loving it. Hey,
Yeah. So many
I have,
topics.
I have this one because I'm going to tell you the story of this book. That's not the
Yeah.
one you're talking about, right? This is the original
That's the
book.
book. That's the book. But
That's a
we
big
now
book.
have a book that's goes in addition with it. But tell me your story about that.
Well, it's with what you were saying, online and in person. So the way I started my journey was first, I'm gonna do a 30-day challenge, right? Because
Okay.
I was not dependent on alcohol. I was not a daily drinker. I was your social drinker that would binge, like I could handle 7 to 10 drinks easily without
Huh?
blacking out. Blacking out will take even more. Imagine that for my body, disaster. And I was proud of it. That's the sad part, right?
Of
We
course.
think like I
Uh-huh.
can handle it. Yeah,
I
I'm
could
killing
drink with
myself,
the eyes,
but I can
drink with
handle
the
it.
closed.
If the organs could speak, they're like, no, honey, you're not handling anything. So anyway, that's how I started. Then I got into Reframe, which is the online platform that I use. And I got into the community, which is
Okay.
online. Everything it's online. And little by little at the beginning, I was like, this is like a cult because everybody will know each other. They will be like, it was weird. I'm like, what's wrong with
Yeah.
these people? All right.
Right.
Little
Totally.
by little, you start knowing their story. It is a place where there's really no judgment. Like that I am a Christian, right? That's my spiritual faith base. And sometimes not even in church, I have felt that kind of non-judgment zone. So that's a lot to say. But something that you touch is in person. So I have a friend that is trying to also just stay alcohol free, and he doesn't like the online thing or nothing. He's 50. So maybe that's why. I don't know if age has to do with it.
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, let's go to AA together. But at the same time, I was also curious because I'm like, you know what? I would love to have all the friends that I have made. I've been in Reframe for over 2 years already, and I truly have friends that I have met, but they're far away. We do a lot of video conference and a lot of Marco Polo, which is an app that we do videos. We talk
Mhm.
every day, every single day. But I'm like, you know what? Maybe I should go to an in person because then I can see people and we are all walking the same path. And I did. I went one time. I said that I was going to go back. That was like a month and a half ago. I started reading the book. I'm at the beginning. And I do want to go back just because of the community aspect, what you were saying, to have that in person, to make those friends here. Because when you start in this journey, you start changing who you are. I'm a different person in just 1 year and a half. I don't even want to know 35, but just in a year and a half, I am a different person. And even though my core friends and people that are like family, they still there, I still like just, being with people that are in the same journey, that understand that every time we go out doesn't need to be about the boost. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And you bring up a lot of things. I mean, reframe because life is social media. I think it's an incredible. I mean, it's all so good. However, we can touch people to, take a look at what you're doing with drinking. Normal people don't. I don't want this is going to probably piss a lot of people off. Normal people don't not drink for 30 days. People who aren't looking at their drinking aren't in something that's trying to not drink. So we already know that we're like,
Mhm.
something's out of place. So I
Yeah.
think like reframe and all that is grabbing people's attention to like maybe shorten so we don't have to go down the long path of recovery and lose everything. So I think
Yeah.
that's
Love that.
amazing. AA, when I started it, my mom was like, it's a cult. And it's like anything where we're all speaking a different language
Hmm.
appears that way. But what it is a place where we're speaking the same language. Normal people, my husband's not an alcoholic. I've been married twice. I've done that, but he doesn't speak the language. And he
Hmm.
can't because his brain doesn't work the way mine does.
Right.
And I have
Yeah,
two
they don't
boys.
understand.
No, and nor should he.
Hmm.
Because he's not wired that way. And the rooms of 12 step, just like you're getting from Reframe, no judgment. I learned in those rooms how to not have judgment because most of us came from judgment. And I will wrap that up in the sense of like about 15 years ago in my recovery. Um, I was at a meeting and I was sitting there with myself. I can still remember, and I'm like, when am I going to stop judging myself? Judgment is the core energy where most of us are stuck. It's actually energetically speaking from an energetic coach, it is the number one addiction. We are stuck in judgment of ourselves. This is where we go into the deeper healing work. And I had that moment of when is that going to shift for me? And then that became another last 15 years of, again, the aligned woman, the energetics, understanding how sensitive I am, and that there was actually names for it now. My
Hmm.
disabilities were not, I always say the wrongness of us is the strongness of us. So many of us still think we're wrong. We're wrong. We're wrong. We're not wrong. I can speak for me, just wired different. So I process different. I think different. My body absorbs food different. It does everything different. Just kind of like
Hmm.
it says in the big book, it's an allergy. So my whole body functions. So the energetics, the consciousness, and I've done nervous system work my whole recovery, but now we have a word for it, and it's called somatics and nervous system. So
Hmm.
everything just has a label, but without all of those things, I would not have 35 years recovery. It's the foundation, worked on myself, and then how to live on life's terms, and all of those things are in the aligned woman's path. But and no judgment. And today I live probably 95%, 90% judgment free of myself.
Wow.
And that's huge.
That is, I was going to say something that you were saying. When we start with the 30-day, like you were saying, people that don't have anything, they're not going to say, well, let's stay 30 days clear and see. if
Right.
there's a problem. No, I have to see. I was married before. I had a person that was a non-drinker. He's never been drunk in his life.
Hmm.
Um, and with that said, he did whenever he will get upset, he will call me an alcoholic. So what I wanted to say with that is that I also had a problem of feeling judged with somebody calling me an alcoholic. But
Right.
the reason that I started this is because there was an alcohol use disorder that I was using alcohol to numb a lot of things. Because at the end of the day, I truly believe that a lot of us use alcohol to numb, to not feel, to more than just celebrations and stuff like that. It's just a coping mechanism. And
Absolutely.
that's where the problem begins, because I had to be honest with myself and say, you know what? I am not that person that is interested in one glass of wine. It's just really, that's like you said, that's not how I'm wired. Once I touched that in my lips, there's a thing that I get this rush of a dopamine that we get that I just want more. And I'm not finished with the first one when I'm already thinking of the second and the third and how many more I can get.
Exactly.
And that is a disorder. Now, I am with someone in my current relationship. He doesn't have that issue. He can have that one glass or that one beer and drink one quarter of the beer and be
Huh.
perfectly fine. Now, me on the other hand, I'm like, when are you going to drink that? Are you going to make it into a soup? Or you see what I'm saying?
And you
Like, I
left
was,
some there? How could you possibly leave a little bit there? Oh,
yes, how dare you?
yeah. So that's where, yeah. But I'm so glad that you were able to find that through
Mm-hmm.
a different platform, um, than the old way of having to go and find it at a meeting, all that. So I really celebrate and I'm excited. It took me 2 years, to be honest, to really let the sober, curious, gray drinker world into my world.
Mm-hmm.
Really 2 years. I've been coaching full time for 6 years now. And I would run into it. And I happen to coach mostly professional business women.
Mm-hmm.
And alcohol affects everybody's life. I have
Yes.
never worked with somebody who they don't maybe don't know I have recovery, but their mother, their father, it's everywhere. And that becomes the family dysfunction. So that's all the energy ties and so forth. But that, so it took me a couple years to like really breathe in this whole new world because I was so used to the way that it worked. It really took some tearing down of
Mm-hmm.
my personal belief systems. I mean, I really had to work on it and now really understand that the new culture, that's what you guys are bringing. I'm so excited about that. And what people, especially women, and this is what 12 Steps was built on, was fellowship. It's a
Mm-hmm.
spiritual program. I mean, it's for me, it's always been my higher power. I have visited every religion there is in 35 years. And I've loved that journey. But I always go back to 12 steps because I know I'm not judged there. Just for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's just me.
Yeah.
Just to be like a fellowship. That's what women are craving, and we used to be in tribes. We don't have tribes anymore. So however we can get that, my concern is for, if I have a concern, is for people who have some more mental stuff with it, where it really is a deep life or death situation. And most people you see come into 12 step, it's life or death. We didn't just get there because we walked in like, hey, I just want to get sober. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
and there is many, many women I have that are dead, committed suicide, never
Wow.
came back in the rooms. I mean, this is not a joke. It's not like,
Mm-hmm.
woohoo, I sometimes
Yeah.
see that I'm 100 days sober. Da, da. For some of us, it wasn't that. It still is. I had someone recently, about 6 months ago, I was interviewing to coach her, and she said to me, and she was younger, I don't think you can help me because you've been sober too long. And I understood where she was coming from totally. But I wanted her to know that alcohol has never left my possibility. I wasn't one of those like, da da da, drinking. No, no, it's still for me. It's still like a daily choice because I know where it's going to take me, but I can still go, wow, it didn't go away. So it was just an eye opener for me. that, I come from old school that if you saw somebody who had 35 years, you would run to them. You'd be like, whatever
Yeah.
you're doing, I want it. Different
Yeah.
generation, it was just whatever. But my point of view for her, she just wasn't ready yet. Just wasn't ready.
Yeah. It's perspective.
I always learned in 12 steps, we look for the similarities, not the differences.
Right. And
And
something
most
that you
people,
touched on
yeah,
that I wanted to say is that is very important is judgment free, that a lot of us live there, like you were saying. And it's so interesting because I heard somebody the other day, it's somebody that I know my whole life, and in their social media platform, she asked a question that it really resonated with me. When do you call yourself fit? Right? As far as looking fit. And that really hit home because that's a
uh-huh.
whole different, beast in itself. But what you said, putting those two things, is like I had an epiphany right now kind of situation.
We're doing healing work. That's what
Yeah,
it
that's what I love about this podcast, that I get so much, I want to give, but I also get so much back in
That's right.
return. And when she asked that, I was like, you know what? Yes, because my whole entire life I've been different weights. Like, for example, when I was really in my early 20s, I was really, really skinny and I wanted more body, like, be a little bit more fuller. Then after that, then in my early 30s, I started into getting really into fitness. I wanted to do a competition, which I think that sometimes can mess with your head because your
Yeah.
standards become like this thing that it's not
It's now
something
the
that is
not the opinion.
sustainable.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I did that. I almost did it. I'm 5'7". Back then I was 139 pounds, but I needed to lose another 10 pounds per my coach to stand on the stage. And that's the fittest. When she asked that question, that's the fittest that I felt. But I still felt that I needed more, to grab more. I need to lose more. I need to put this muscle in this way.
Uh-huh.
Now I'm 40 years old, and now, right, it's a different decade, it's a different bracket, and I'm still trying to follow or pursue that kind of physique in a way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think it's in that judgment zone where I want to be this really fit person, but at the same time I have other things. And to be that fit, you really have to dedicate. Like when I did it, I dedicated a long time of my life just doing that. I used to be
Yeah,
an
I bet.
insurance agent and I did my own time, and I really neglected my business because I was so into. Then you have social media that you see all these women, so that all they do. So they
Yeah.
live to do that. And then you're comparing yourself and you're judging yourself. And I was telling my partner the other day, you know what? I'm just tired of judging my body. Instead of being thankful, I'm not a person that is obese. I'm not overweight. I just want to drop body fat percentage. And I'm like, I need to start. And then I came like, I need to start shifting my mindset from I need to have a 13% body fat
Uh-huh.
percentage to be happy, because that's at this point that's ridiculous. I can't achieve that because it's just for that. First of all, it's really hard for a woman to get to that. And you can, but you got to live for that. And that's not the lifestyle that I want. So it's very interesting because you know what? That's the current work that I want to work with. I want to work with, okay, yes, I want to get better. I do want to get healthier and all of that, but I need to stop with the expectation of just looking like a Barbie.
Yep. Yep.
And
Yep.
I loved what you said. We live in that judgment zone, like you're judging yourself all the time.
And it's hard. That's where beyond sobriety plus beyond recovery, because we get recovery. I should speak for myself. I have recovery and there was still something missing. It's like what's missing here? I'm still not happy. I'm still not happy. And so the work that I explain to people I do is like, it's the underneath stuff. It's stuff that it's all unconscious. That judgment is, a lot of it's not ours. As empaths, we think it's ours. We don't have tools. I'd say that's probably the one of the biggest things I do is I like teach 600 different tools energetically and consciously that we don't They're not out there. Just becoming aware of, like you said, yeah, social media, when it comes to bodies and all that, I can't go down that road. It's like picking up a drink for me
Mm-hmm.
because it spins the eating disorder. And it's like, so that's why with drink, I'm addicted. The name of my company, by the way, I don't know if you know, is Growth Junkie Coaching. That's
I
the
like
name.
it. I love it.
I'm addicted to, because I'm always going to be addicted to something. I have that personality. So the growth for me is the most important. And then I share that. And then you said something too. It's like some of us, it's never enough. Nothing's never enough. We're wired that way. So when you said, what will it take to be, when will you be fit? Number one, what does fit mean? I would look at the
Mm-hmm.
energy of words, like, what does that mean? Is it a body? Is it a spiritual? Is it energetic? Is it
Mm-hmm.
conscious? Is it health? There's so many layers to that. I work with a lot of women on the other end of the small size. We're just mirrors. I work with a
Mm-hmm.
lot of women who are on the recovery journey of have lost weight, are larger women. And we all have, it's just the same. It's that internal, just grinding of judgment. It's so subconscious that it really has to be released energetically. This is not mindset work. Mindset, as we know, can get us one place, but then we got to go to the unconscious and then do the whole, that's the whole aligned woman. And I'm glad that we have pieces to that today. So, yeah.
Yeah, it
So,
has to be in your subconscious. It's something that for me, I know it's all the way there. It's
yeah.
ingrained because for
And I
me,
go like
fit.
this. This is the way I
Yeah,
like to. It's here.
there.
I always say underneath the pile. I have a funny saying. I won't say it, but underneath the pile of poo is the pony called you. So, because this is life, generational, so much, meet everything. And under here is you, the infinite being that we probably were a little bit when we came into the world, but by the age of 3, 5, 7, and 12, we've been programmed because we need to survive. We're in survival. And now the job we need to do is start to learn how to move this all away so that we can keep popping out and going, that's actually who I am. And those are all, now we call it the identity shift because it has a name now. Before it was just moving the shit away
Mm-hmm.
so that I could breathe, so that I could survive.
I
So I
love
think
that.
that's been the last 6 years for me is getting off the survival, a treadmill. I I grew up with the women my age where we survived. Balls to the walls, make it happen, male dominated. We worked freaking hard. And it doesn't have to be that because the newer generation that's those 20s and stuff have come in and they don't have that belief system.
Mm-hmm.
I used to judge that. I'm like, how come it's so easy for them? But it's because we did the
Yeah, I
work.
was gonna say that you guys
But
paved
it
the
took me
work.
a long time to figure that out. So a lot of the women I work with were still like 15. I'm like, I'm still in survival. I'm still in survival. And so it's just a different way. But I I've had to do, constant work on myself of how to get my whole everything out of survival. Most of
Mm-hmm.
us women we're just in that. We're still in
Mm-hmm.
that, and it doesn't have to exist. But
And
you
it's
can't just
exhausting. It's exhausting to be
both
in
are
that survival.
exhausting. Being in survival is, but when we're in it, I didn't even know I was, but that's an overachieving woman. I've had, I had that business as a holistic health practitioner. And then I did network marketing, Mary Kay Cosmetics for 22 years as a
Mm.
top sales director, 11 free cars, so I helped very perfect women build businesses, but the underlining that kept women not succeeding was this survival, not willing to have really underneath, and the judgment. So that's why I left it, because I wanted to help women in that, to help them expand this way. There was just too many coming and going. But yeah, I stuck with that for 20, 24 years.
Wow. And to do all that work, imagine when you're drinking. I think it's impossible to do all that work that you're talking about with a drinking career at the same time.
No, and I could tell them when they, unfortunately, when they would come in into Mary Kay, and people will ask me, "Are you a life coach, a business coach?" They're the same. What's going on in your life is showing up in your business. There's
Mm-hmm.
no way. I mean, people will ask, "Do I teach strategy?" And of course, but it's really like, what's going on? What's
Mm-hmm.
going on? And if that's not in consciousness, then the business and all that's going to be hard. So it's a deep dive. Not everybody's willing to do the work I've done. Not willing, people are willing to
Mm-hmm.
do the work that I coach with. But if we can keep tapping into it, however, then we'll get seeds everywhere. And we're like, oh, that part, growth junkie. So sorry, I
I
keep
love
talking, but I just
love
love
that.
talking. Yeah.
No, and it's so true because people run away from change. Change
Yes.
meaning doing this work that it's hard. It's hard to confront your emotions. It's hard to see your truth. It's hard to do all of the things, but that is the only way that we can get to the other side. You know, for me, I always say leaving alcohol is just the first step. That's just one thing because that's what's helping you mask all the underlying issues. It's
Correct.
like they say, when I was in college and I did my first psychology class, I will never forget when the teacher gave us the definition of cognitive dissonance, which is, your thoughts and your actions don't align. Just to put it simple, they don't align. And when they don't align, you have a conflict, an inner conflict. And
Uh-huh.
then what do? We get a bottle, a glass, thinking that this inner conflict that you have and this energy that it's there is going to go away because you're having wine or you're going to get drunk. Well, honey, it's not. Well, you're going to forget about it for a moment because your brain's going to be elsewhere. But then the next morning you get up and now you have double the problem because you have this low depressant energy from your body just surviving in top of what you're already working with.
Totally. Yep. Yep. And I feel called to just share, for me, I've had to be on antidepressants. I do not produce serotonin. And that's where it becomes where it's mental for a lot of people. It's like you put down the drink, you put down the food, you put down the shopping, and you're still off. It's because in the brain, the neurotransmitters, they're not clicking. So that's
Mm-hmm.
the one part. It's like that is a huge part of you put down the drink because the drink was the one that was creating that. So there's so much. That's the addiction to sugar. We used to, in AA meetings, you never went to a meeting unless there was donuts. Do you know why we did donuts?
For the
Because donuts
dopamine.
for the sugar.
Mhm. Yeah, for the
Because
sugar
you
on it.
take the alcohol out, you now have no sugar and energy, which is everything. Everything is energy.
Mhm.
Energy is energy for the brain.
Mhm.
So, those are all those, there's just so many parts and pieces. But like you said, change is scary and not everybody's willing to. And that's when we say, when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, you're finally willing to go, okay, I'm willing to look at one thing here. And that
Mhm.
can start that can start the cycle. So it's
And
not
to
easy. I
no,
understand.
it's not. What in piggybacking what you were saying about medication. Now I'm in the point of doing the work of why I'm claustrophobic. I've been claustrophobic my whole life. My dad was a claustrophobic. It is something that as I get older has gotten worse.
Huh?
Because it's at the end of the day, I have realized it's lack of control. That I don't like to be lack of control of where I'm at. I don't like to be in, like, if, for example, if you put me in a small space that I cannot get off, that's gonna set me off. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't have to be just an elevator. People tell me, hey, but it's only 10th floor. It's not about the elevator closing and going. When it's working fine, it's fine. What I'm thinking about, what about if I get stuck? Because I lose control. I don't know when they're gonna get me out. And the phobias is something that your left side of your brain takes over, right? You're not, it's not rational in the sense that you know that you're okay. But now it's time to work on that. And when you mention medication, I went to my primary and I said, because it's happening in airplanes. So I don't care. I've done skydiving. I'm a junkie for adrenaline. Like I love roller coasters. I was that person driving 160 miles in a motorcycle when I was young. Thank God I didn't die. But just to give you an example, I love that. So if I go into an airplane and as long as we're moving and we're going, it's fine. Now, when we are landing and it's time to get to the gate, it's for whatever reason, we get stuck. We cannot get off, and I have to stay sitting down there until they decide that they can or whatever. I go into a flight mode. So my body, I from my hands, I feel the palpitations. I feel like I can't breathe for a second. But then what I do, what I've been doing all this long is I start talking to myself. I give therapy to myself. I'm like, Abigail, you're okay. It's your thing. You know, you can manage. You're gonna get. I start talking. I tell my partner, start talking to me. Talk to me about whatever. Because I just want to take my mind. But what I need to go through in those minutes, I feel like it's an eternity that I'm like going crazy. So I said, that's it. Because then I used alcohol before. That was my thing. I would use alcohol too. Forget about it. And then on the connecting flights, you know where I will go right away? I will go to the bar to keep drinking with that sense that I need to get this off. Now she's like, you know what? I'm like, what can you give me? Because I don't have nothing against medication, but I've never been a person, thank God I've been healthy. I've never been a person to drink medication. So I
Mhm.
avoid medication. It's just in my nature. But I said, that's it. I don't have alcohol anymore. So now I need to deal with it. And I don't want to suffer either. You know what I mean? It is something that I have. Now, am I going to go get therapy? I'm going to exposure therapy and all of that to try to get to the root problem of it. But in the meantime, those medications are going to help me when I get to that airplane.
Yeah, and it's okay. It's
And they have
okay.
a place. Yeah. So
A
that's what I
lot of
want to give my story.
us have that, as in the big book, self-will run riot, where we will not let anything help us. You know,
Hmm.
we will white knuckle, buckle it down, do it our own self because that's who we are. We're survivors in that sense. So I love that you're talking about that, that it's okay. And it's okay to receive outside help, but it's not easy for us to do that either. It's not.
No.
And mine was
And
only because
especially when you're like, well, I don't put any substance, like alcohol was damaging my brain. Then you get into this whole area of, I don't want any substance
I
in
know.
my.
I deal with it with my son, and then we go natural. We smoke. I been there, all of it. But if you truly, for me, depressive wise, it's life or death. It's suicide or
Mhm.
not. So we are talking like three, four, five different levels. But I love that we're talking about that. So, and I do want to say too, like if I had a session with you, we would
Mhm.
get to the root cause of that
Mhm.
claustrophobia. It's never what it is. It's what's happening underneath there. So that's where my work is very different. I can't really explain it over, but looking at the energetics of it. Therapy, God, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for therapy. And they always say therapy's the onion, right? You're peeling the
Right.
layers. The problem we get eventually with therapy is it never gets really to the root. The energetic root, because everything has an energetic root. So we do the healing, we do the layers, and you do the layers. And if you keep spinning back up to the same layer, it's not head, it's energetics, it's consciousness. And that's my like, that's what gets me all juicy and it's excited because we know with somebody, it's like, we've done this, we're still in survival. Where is actually the root? So it's good that you're talking about that too. It's all of those, we need all of that. So I love it. I love everything that we've talked about. I
Yeah.
think it's a
That's what I
great,
want people to understand when they're listening and they're just super curious is you will do a lot of work, but it's a lot of healing that you've been craving, even though you don't know, maybe on your conscious, you've been wanting that change. And we have to start somewhere. So leaving alcohol is the first step. Then you start doing all that inner work and then you start getting in. As time goes, I'm sure that when I'm sober for 3 years, something else is gonna come because life throw things at you. I lost my father in the middle of this, a couple of days before hitting my year. And I thought that was the one thing that will get me back to drink. I really
right.
thought. And you know what? I was surprised at that. That was the last thing in my mind because I already had the tools. I did not run away from my feelings like I used to. I used to be that run. I used to be Forrest Gump, running away from my run, Abigail, run. And my
Yeah.
feelings are here and I will go that way. No, this time I will actually go for a walk. I will go for a run. I will cry. I will write in my journal crying. But you know what? Every time I would go and be with my dad, I was fully present. And that was a gift that I gave him and I gave myself because I remember every second of it. I was able to I was the one I was his proxy. So my mom was there, but she couldn't handle the pressure of it. So I had to do everything. And I am proud because to my knowledge, I was secure and I was, very assertive in my decisions, right? Because I didn't have nothing altering my chemistry in my brain. And for that, if I was able to handle that, like I'm so happy because you never know. I don't trust alcohol. So I call it the devil.
Yeah, it's cutting down. They call it cutting down when you're powerful. And even when you're the best, the next thing you know, you're like, how did that drink?
Yeah. Yeah.
But congratulations, because you did get your foundation in reframe. See,
Hmm.
you had some great tools. So
Yeah.
yay for using those. I think that's, I still live, I still choose one day at a time because a
Hmm.
lot of stuff can happen in 24 hours.
Oh, yes.
So, I
Yeah. I don't take
still,
it for granted. I
oh,
really don't.
yeah, just like you're saying that, yeah. So
A
congratulations.
question. Thank you.
Yeah,
Since we get into the end of it, thank you so much. First of all, it's been amazing. All the information you've been giving us.
love it.
What will be your tip that you will give a person that is just thinking about starting this journey, or maybe they're just starting to get their feet wet and they are struggling? What will you
Okay.
tell them?
Find a foundation that fits for you. Find whether it's in some meetings, whether it's in online reframe, whatever. You're not alone. And find a core. Find something that you know is going to be there. Stuff
Hmm.
starts to come up. Find something where if it was an energetic thing that I teach energy, is find something that's light. Anything that's heavy is really not going to work for us. But if you're like, you pop in and you instantly go into your body and you're like, this is light. This is fun. I'm enjoying it, which is, I think, why women are attracted to that sober the 30, because there's this lightness. We're coming from heavy to something light, and just that can bring the energetics of our body up a little bit. And that's what keeps us coming back. It's like
Hmm.
that felt good. So you're not alone. Reach out to somebody who has what
Hmm.
you want,
Hmm.
and you're not alone. And one day at a time. Yeah.
Yeah, one day at
Yeah.
a time.
One
That's
day.
all that we only have today, right? We don't even know if we have tomorrow. That is just
And
light work.
I coach with 10-second increments. I know that sounds weird, but every 10 seconds, it's even faster. We change, we move. So just because you choose this doesn't mean you have to choose it the next 10 seconds, the seconds. And in my yearly recovery for those first 5 years, whatever, a lot of it was second to second. It was
Hmm.
bad. It was like, am I going to drink that alcohol that's right in front of me? Am I going to choose that? And then think it through, pick up the phone, call the sponsor, whoever, and then have somebody that's there immediately. If it wasn't for the fellowship of women at the other end of the phone, if I couldn't get to, I wouldn't be here. I owe a lot of my recovery to the women who were at the end of the phone all the time, right at that crisis moment. And then the bottom is finding whatever that's spiritual, because when everybody's gone and you're on the floor, and you're on the floor. I can still remember the times like on the floor, it's either me or the drink, the drug, the whatever, and you're on the floor. It really does come to your spiritual connection, whatever that is. Okay. Whatever that is. And sometimes our fellowships are our spiritual connection until we can find something that works for us or not. So sorry, that was a lot. That was a lot of
No, that perfect.
what's your one thing, 15 things down the road.
No, that's beautiful. Giving people tools. Thank you so much. Well,
You're
thank you
welcome.
so much for being part of this podcast.
An
I
honor.
appreciate you so much. It's really being an honor to hear you, and you're very knowledgeable, and you have so much wisdom. And thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So, for everyone else, thank you so much, guys, for listening. Remember, if you have any questions and anything like that, I do give a 45-minute free discover call where we talk, and I will put my information and also hers down below. And see you guys in the next episode. Bye.